This episode contains themes of violence and murder and may not be suitable for listeners of all ages. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Hot Justice Podcast, a space where we remember the victims, question the facts, and seek justice through storytelling.
I'm Heather,
And I'm Sierra.
and we're here to explore the stories that challenge what we think we know, bringing you real talk, honest reflection, and a deep respect for the victims and their families.
Because true crime isn't just about mystery, it's about understanding the human stories beneath the headlines. Let's get into it.
In 2018, a cold case investigator named Paul Holes tried something radical. He uploaded the Golden State Killer's DNA to a genealogy website, like the ones people use to find a distant cousin. Within hours, a match. Not to the killer himself, but to a distant relative. Detectives built a family tree, they narrowed down males of the right age, and ended up with one name: Joseph James DeAngelo. Former police officer, Navy veteran, suburban dad. They collected his DNA from a used tissue in his trash, and it matched. He wasn't caught by fingerprints, not by witnesses, not by a confession. He was caught by a genealogy website. This is episode 4, Golden State Killer Part 2. Hey guys.
Hi, guys. Welcome back.
This is new for us. You're actually seeing us. I don't know why everyone wanted to see us on camera, but here we are
This is what we look like.
in real life.
Yeah.
Every day.
So you might notice that we both have a glass of wine, or you can assume that it's whatever. I guess I shouldn't have said it's wine. We have glasses we're going to be drinking from. We did get some feedback that episode 3 seemed a little more, I don't know, seamless, like maybe not so rigid, that it flowed more naturally.
I feel
And-
like because it was just us talking. Like
Look-
it's how we talk to each other.
Yeah, but then I also think because we had wine. So
That's also probably true.
yeah, that made me feel more comfortable for sure.
The first 2, we were a little nervous.
Yeah.
And then episode 3 comes along and. And also I feel like we were so connected with 1 and 2, or, part 1 and 2, that we really wanted to do it justice. And not that we didn't want to do the Golden State Killer justice, but he's been caught. So
Yeah, not as much on the line. And I think, too, we had planned episodes 1 and 2 for so long and just like
Yes.
having conversations about it for so many months. And we definitely put a lot of time and research. Not that Heather didn't for this one, but it was like a long time coming. And I think we
It
just
was
wanted to make sure it was so long.
It was
Yeah.
so long, so long.
Yep. But
Um,
we hope you guys had great holidays, whatever you celebrate. If you celebrate, we spend Christmas together. So we had our normal Christmas morning together. We always have a great time.
And what a shocker, there were mimosas.
Yeah, mimosas. Heather went a little extra this year and she made a whole mimosa bar. So it was pretty impressive.
Highly
I-
recommend. Like, if you don't like Bloody Marys, why do they get to only be the only things that are loaded? Like,
But after I ate I think she had some of the skewers had sausage links.
Oh.
And after I ate my sausage link, I almost stuck myself in the face with the skewer. So yeah,
that did happen. Yeah.
just be careful.
Yeah, they're dangerous if you're going to do it. And if you see this little thing, that's my dog. That's actually a painting that Sierra painted of my dog.
Yeah.
So
That was a couple Christmases ago.
she's back there hanging out to join us. But okay, so this is not as graphic, obviously, because we are not really going to touch too much on his crimes. A little bit from a couple of his victims for his sentencing. I have a couple things from them, but not as graphic, but still, viewer discretion is advised, obviously.
Listener discretion.
Yeah,
Also,
both now,
if you're
right?
listening and not watching.
But let's just talk about it, I guess.
Okay.
So let's talk about who the Golden State Killer was. So his name was Joseph James DeAngelo Jr., and he was born November 8th, 1945 in Bath, New York. So not that far from...
Thank goodness he moved away from here, I guess.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it would
right?
have been the
Otherwise, it would have been the
New
New York
York
upstate,
I don't know, upstate New York
the apple
killer or
killer,
something. Yeah.
like the wine killer. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I guess not good, right? It wasn't good that it happened to anybody, but
Yes, but it wasn't
we're
here.
glad he didn't live here.
Thank goodness. So he was born to Kathleen K. Louise and Joseph James D'Angelo Sr., and his dad was a sergeant in the United States Army. He had two sisters, Rebecca and Connie, and one brother also named John. So his childhood was a little bit traumatic. A relative reported that when D'Angelo was a young child, he actually witnessed the rape of his sister Connie, who was 8 or 9 at the time,
Oh my
by
God.
two. I know. And just to be clear, you can be sympathetic for young Joseph James D'Angelo because no child should ever have to see that and still think he's a monster. Because when I read that, I can't imagine that. So I feel bad for child him.
Yeah.
I don't feel
Well,
bad for adult him.
and I was wondering that when we were talking through the first part of this two-parter, right? And all of the horrific crimes that he committed. And I think about that a lot of times just with any criminal, if they're committing acts that are just so heinous, first of all, why? But then, like, what was their childhood like? Like, what shaped them into that kind of person, right?
Yeah, I would say this was definitely very traumatic. And it was actually by two airmen at a U.S. Air Force base while the family was stationed in Germany. So
So, where were his parents?
I don't know.
And was he older?
He is older than his sisters, but I don't know exactly how old. I should have looked that up, to be honest with you, at that time.
So, I wonder if he felt guilty because he couldn't help.
Yeah, and following his conviction, his sister Rebecca did state that his father abused him the entire time he was growing up, and it was said that his parents constantly beat him. So, again, awful for child Joseph James D'Angelo Jr. because that's awful.
But doesn't
Excuse
Right.
his later behavior. We
Right.
can have a traumatic childhood and still become a normal human being,
Yep.
right? Prosecutors reported that D'Angelo actually committed burglaries, mail theft, and tortured and killed animals during his teenage years. So obviously, a lot of times in true crime, you'll hear a lot about animals, and that's kind of where a lot of killers start. So
Yeah.
honestly, I guess if someone was paying attention to him, maybe they would have known that something was off.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't sound like his parents were all that active in his
Right.
life. So surprisingly, he himself actually joined the Navy in September of 1964.
Do we keep rolling?
Yeah.
I can also, I think, like, cut it
But
if we
I
have
was
to.
like,
Otherwise, maybe it
bubbles maybe
shows that you're
weren't
human.
weren't a good idea. Okay, where was I?
He joined the
He joined the
military.
Navy in
Yeah.
1964, and he actually served for 22 months during the Vietnam War as a damage controlman on a cruiser called the USS Canberra and a destroyer, the USS Piedmont. So, beginning in August of 1968, he attended Sierra College in Rockland, California, and he graduated with an associate's degree in police science
Oh.
with honors.
So did he move through the military to California, or did he grow up in Bath, or his family moved around because
I think
he
his
was
family moved around to a bunch
military
of different bases.
Okay.
I did not see which base his dad retired from or where he ended. So I'm not sure what made him go to California. I would guess maybe stationed there.
Okay.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of places in California, especially, but I can't confirm that. But he did somehow end up there with his degree. And
In
then he
police.
attended Sacramento State University in 1971, and he earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice.
Oh my gosh.
Monster who is actually intelligent or at least knowledgeable about workings of.
Which does make sense, I think, because he went, I don't know, unidentified for so long, but I don't know, just the way that he was able to break into people's houses like so quietly, and I know that a lot
buckle
of
in
people.
because it gets so much worse.
Okay.
Like, yeah. So he later took postgraduate courses and further police training at the College of the Sequoias in Visalia. This is the one that I knew I was going to
The
trip
College of the
over.
Sequoias, remember there was a professor from the College of the Sequoias. Was it one of his
So
professors?
that was my thing to you. Does the College of Sequoia stand out? Because his
Yeah.
first murder victim was Claude Snelling,
Claude,
who was a
yes.
professor at the
Oh.
College of the Sequoias.
Wow. What a coincidence, I guess.
Right?
Yeah.
I didn't see anything that they actually like knew each other or that he had taken classes from him or anything like that, but just one of those like makes you stop and
Ugh,
it just gives me
the heebie-jeebies.
yeah, I just don't like it.
Yeah.
So from May 1973 to August 1976, D'Angelo was a burglary unit police officer.
Can you
in
say that time frame again?
May of 1973
Okay.
to August of 1976.
So
which
73.
should be familiar to you.
That's when he started his crime sprees, right?
Yes.
Wow.
So he's a cop. Burglary. Again,
Do you think he was burglarizing when he was on duty?
you should double click in here because it's going to get even a little bit worse.
Oh, click.
So that's right. While he was breaking and entering into people's homes and burglarizing and terrorizing them, he himself was a burglary unit officer.
Oh my gosh.
Not only was he a police officer in a town nearby to all these burglaries, he himself was on the task force to find the Visalia ransacker,
Well, that is just messed up.
aka himself.
Oh man. Well, that's crazy. So not only did his, I guess, whoever had hired him, right? But the department must have had there must have been
No
like no
clue.
inclination that he was a crazy person,
No clue.
right? And you
No
have to
clue.
pass background checks. I don't know about in the 70s, but
But think about
now-
it. There's probably nothing in his background that would give them any.
what about like a psych eval and stuff? Don't police officers have to pass all that kind of stuff?
I don't think that was anywhere near as prevalent.
Oh.
back. I mean, again, I can't comment to that for sure, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it was not. It's probably not what it was today.
Yeah.
So he then served in Auburn from August 1976 to July of 1979 when he was arrested for shoplifting a hammer and dog repellent.
What? And then
Why
he was
you would
fired?
try to, he was sentenced to 6 months of probation and then fired in October.
Jeez.
So during the process of being fired, D'Angelo threatened to kill the chief of police
Oh boy.
and then allegedly stalked the chief's house.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
the chief's lucky that that's all that happened.
Seriously,
because we
like-
know that this fella is dangerous.
And when he
is.
stalks people, he, then perpetrates crimes against them.
Right.
So this chief is very lucky. So his employment history during the 1980s is unknown. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but there was actually like 3 years where no one kind of really knows what he was doing. But it's suspected that he worked as a computer engineer and as a cashier. And then from 1990 until his retirement in 2017, he worked as a truck mechanic at a Save Mart Supermarkets distribution center. So he retired in 2017. So keep that in mind
Okay.
because it'll be not like relevant, but some timeline stuff. So let's talk about relationships because I feel like most of the time people in a relationship with these people maybe know that something is off.
I think sometimes, or you at least suspect that there's like
Something's not right.
Yeah, but think about like Dennis Rader and his family, and they had no idea.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
And the Lisk, right? The Long
Yeah.
Island serial killer. The
No
family
clue.
supposedly, although they lived in like a 1,000 square foot house. How do you not
how do
know?
you not know? But I think with Lisk that he committed a lot of his acts when people were out of town.
Yes, that's
So
true. Yep.
That's, I guess, if I'm out of town, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yep.
But in May of 1970, D'Angelo became engaged to a nursing student, Bonnie Jean Colwell, who was a classmate of his at Sierra College. But she ended the relationship in 1971 after he became manipulative and abusive, culminating in his demand that she help him cheat on an abnormal psych test.
What?
After the breakup, he attempted to force her to marry him by threatening her with a gun.
Oh.
Because that's gonna get
tracks.
me to marry you. Threaten me with a gun. Yeah, okay. But in September of 1973, he married Shannon Marie Huddle. In 1980, he purchased a home in Citrus Heights where he was eventually arrested decades later. So
Okay. So he
continued to
lived
live in
there
this house.
always.
The two also purchased a second home in Long Beach, and they lived there throughout some of the 1980s. Huddle actually became a divorce attorney in 1982, and they had 3 daughters.
Oh my gosh.
2 who were born in Sacramento and 1 who was born in Los Angeles.
Can you imagine finding out that that was your dad?
No.
Ugh.
No. Like, you question your whole childhood and your whole existence. Like,
Yes.
your dad is a literal psychopath.
Yeah.
And
That's
then I would be
crazy.
like, do I have those genes? Am I a psychopath?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's how I would feel. Not that they should feel that way. That's just how I would feel. Um, the couple did separate in 1991. So, I mean, they were married for 22 years.
Wow.
So it's kind of a lot.
Do you know why they separated?
I don't know why they separated, but
Any guns involved? Manipulation?
it doesn't sound like he threatened her with a gun, but maybe at that point she was an attorney and he thought better of his choices,
I
maybe.
mean, maybe.
But in July of 2018, several months after we will talk about his arrest, Huddle filed for divorce and it was finalized in 2019. D'Angelo committed most of his offenses while he was married and raising a family. Neither his wife nor his children ever suspected he was committing crimes. His eldest daughter claimed he was a, quote, perfect father, while his wife believed his excuses for being away from home.
Wow.
So there you go, right?
Yeah.
You're
They had no clue.
no clue whatsoever. Daughters thought he was great, had no clue this was what their dad was doing on the side.
So he must have been just like a regular guy, like a regular dad. He wasn't abusive or anything. Like his parents had been to him.
Right.
Huh. Interesting.
So the only arrest on his record prior to 2018 was in 1996 for failing to pay for gas, but it was dismissed.
Well, and the
And the repellent,
the dog repellent
Yep.
and hammer
Yep.
incident. Okay, so two, but minor, failing to pay for gas.
Right. And then dismissed. So like, I don't know if they let him pay restitution and then, gave him like a dismissal if he paid it. I didn't see any details on it, but
Well,
that was his rap sheet.
yeah, that's crazy. And then I think about how his reign of terror ended in 1986, right? And if it ended in 1986, I was thinking, well, what happened to him? Did he get arrested? Because sometimes if somebody gets arrested or if they move away, right?
Still lived in
But
the same place.
yeah, so
no
he just
arrests.
cold turkey stopped.
But did he? And
I don't
we'll
know.
talk about that too.
Okay.
So let's talk about the timeline. Obviously, we know that 1986 was when he committed his last murder, his last crime that we know of.
Yep.
And for decades, this was just completely, there's no updates. There's nothing to even like really talk about. Obviously, there were task force, police officers were working on these cases. I don't want to claim that nothing was being done, but there wasn't anything to bring to the forefront like, hey, this is what's happening. It was very much a cold case.
And had they all been linked? Like what year did they link?
No, we're going to go over that.
Okay.
So in 2001, now remember, 1986 to 2001, so 15 years after his last crime, DNA testing indicated that the East Area rapist and the original Night Stalker were the same person.
Okay.
So this is the first time that they realize we've been looking for the same person in all of these cases.
And probably multiple task forces or
Right.
yeah. Okay.
So the case was actually a factor in the establishment of California's DNA database, which collects DNA from all accused and convicted felons in California, and it's second only to Virginia's in effectiveness of solving cold cases.
Really?
So pretty awesome. I mean, again, totally terribly tragic about all these cases, but it really did lead to this DNA database, which is really helping.
Well, so is the DNA database different from CODIS, which I think CODIS is nationwide?
CODIS is nationwide. So I don't know if this is, a part of what they use for CODIS, if they have something specific, like separate. I didn't really see too much on that, but pretty awesome that they're second only to Virginia.
Okay. So is it only felons? Is that what you said?
Yes, accused and convicted felons. So if
Accused
you've
and
been
convicted.
accused, your DNA is there.
Okay. Yeah.
In an attempt to increase awareness, crime writer Michelle McNamara actually coined the term the Golden State Killer in 2001. So we'll talk about her a little bit more too. So again, we have all this info, but we still, even though we have his DNA, it doesn't ping to anything because he's never been in trouble. He's not a convicted felon.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not in this database. So in 2016, the FBI, I am like struggling over my words today.
No, you sound great.
The FBI announced that if the killer was still alive, because remember, like, is he alive?
Right.
I mean, at this point,
He's
it's been
old.
30 years since
Yeah.
his last crime. So
Yeah.
he might not be alive anymore. He would now be approximately 60 to 75 years old. He is a white male, would have been close to 6 foot with blonde or light brown hair and an athletic build. He may have had an interest or training in military or law enforcement techniques. and he would be proficient with firearms.
Right on the money.
Dead
all the way
on.
around.
Like, what a great I mean, I know it still didn't catch him at this point, but what a great profile.
Yeah.
And there was a $50,000 reward being offered for more information. I mean, again, they weren't finding him yet, but they were dedicated to trying to find him. They were actively working at it.
So I have a question, just
Sure.
real quick. Okay. So we talk sometimes about there are criminals, they commit a crime and it's unsolved. And do you think that they've slipped up or said anything to anybody? The fact that his family had no idea, right? His wife, his 3 daughters, he was
No
a
clue.
perfect dad. And I would think those are the people that were closest to him. Like if you're going to confide in anybody, it would maybe be your spouse. But if they didn't know, do you think honestly, like there was nobody, there was a $50,000 reward, but if there was nobody who even had, if they had no knowledge of his crimes and that it was him, right? I mean, there's nobody to even like turn him in or come forward.
Yeah. I
He
mean,
probably didn't confide in anybody.
I almost wonder, like, I didn't see anything on it, but like, what were his friendships like? Did he have friendships?
Yeah.
I'm almost tempted to say, like, he doesn't have a lot of friendships because, these years when he disappears, we'll talk about it a little bit. There's like 3 years where they just have no idea what he was doing. And I would think if you had any kind of friends after you're arrested and there's question of what you've been doing,
Yeah. They would come forward
when
and
you come
say,
forward,
we're hanging out every Thursday having game night or whatever.
right, even
Yeah.
if it's to his defense, even if it's like to say, I cannot believe it, he was, always so great and blah, 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 like whatever it might be, you would think that people would come to his defense.
Yeah.
So definitely odd to me.
And it's funny, I have heard other serial killers, like Lisk, for example, he did have close friends,
Yeah.
right? And Dennis Rader, he was
Yep.
really involved in church. Like he had a lot of friends and like a big
BTK.
network of people. That's him. Yeah, Dennis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So I don't know, but this guy does seem like a little bit different and maybe more of a loner, I guess.
What is interesting, and I did not find a lot on it, so I didn't talk too much about it, but there have been reports that he did taunt his victims, that some of his victims have received or believed to have received phone calls over the years from him.
Really?
So that reminded me a little bit of BTK, like with
Yeah.
the taunting. But I couldn't find a ton on
And
it.
Lisk did too. Think about the
Yep.
sister.
Oh my
Remember he was
gosh,
calling
remember
the
how-
sister?
Oh,
Yeah, that's
ugh.
creepy. So wow.
That's
so
one
he
we
was-
should definitely cover because
Oh,
I'm
have
obsessed
to.
with Lisk.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was obsessed with Lisk and trying to find out who the killer could be. And then when they arrested him, I was like, this cannot be, that's not who the killer is in my head.
Yeah.
This
What
is
were you
not-
thinking?
I don't know. I pictured someone like really young, athletic looking, like just not him.
Not Rex Hewerman.
No. Yeah. Ugh. And not someone with a family. I guess in my head, I never picture serial killers with families.
I know.
I think of like Jeffrey Dahmer,
family,
right?
Yeah.
I think of like, you don't have anyone.
Well, John Wayne Gacy had a
I
family.
know.
It's kind of crazy, like how many of these guys are just like normal Joes,
Yeah.
right? Which is the scariest thing about serial killers. It's
I
not
think that's
like
what's terrifying. Like, what if your significant other is a serial killer and you don't know? Okay.
I don't know.
I think you're safe. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're safe.
Oh, I'm safe, yeah, for sure. But
So
maybe somebody else isn't.
yeah,
Pay close attention.
pay attention to your spouse. So let's fast forward to 2018, which is where everything kind of happens.
Okay.
So his name comes up for the first time in 2018, according to the Sacramento District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert. He became the first public arrest ever retained through obtained, not retained, through genetic genealogy, which is a new technique that takes the DNA of an unknown suspect that's left behind at the crime scenes. It identifies him or her by tracing their family tree
Mm-hmm.
and then submitting it to public genealogy databases. So think like 23andMe, Ancestry.com. These people could be submitting their DNA. I mean, they have nothing to hide, right? But maybe their family member does.
Right.
So to identify D'Angelo, the investigators actually narrowed the family tree search based on age, location, and other characteristics. So once they zeroed in that it's D'Angelo, or they suspected it was D'Angelo, they surveyed him and they collected his DNA from a tissue that he left in a trash. Because
So-
remember, anything in a trash bin,
Yeah, it's
it's
public. Yeah.
It's not yours anymore.
So he threw it away. He takes his trash out to the curb and they start digging through it.
Yep. And I think they were trying to collect DNA from his car door as well.
Oh.
So, I mean, they were really If they want your DNA, they're going to get it right. You're never going to be able to fully hide your DNA in this day and age. It's just not possible.
Well, but doing it sneakily or whatever, I think
Yeah.
is different than you bring them down to the station and you say, okay, we have a warrant for your DNA. We have suspicion that you were involved in these crimes, right?
Yeah.
I almost like that. It's like it has an element of surprise when
Yeah.
they can connect you through DNA without you having any idea that they have your DNA in the first
No
place.
clue. Don't even know they're looking at you.
Yeah.
So they plugged his DNA back into the genealogy website, and it was a match linking him to all of the DNA that was found at the crime scenes.
Wow.
So
Yay.
there is a prosecutor. His name is Thien Ho, and he says, a quote from him is that the techniques pioneered to catch him is called investigative genetic genealogy. We, along with other police agencies from around the world, have solved nearly 1,000 cold cases using that technique. It has fundamentally changed investigation of cold cases. So, it's important to note that since his arrest, 150 suspects have been identified through genetic genealogy. So
I think it's so cool too because there was such a boost. I remember a couple years ago, I bought some of the Ancestry DNA kits for family members for Christmas, and I feel like everybody was taking them. Right.
Mhm.
So when we look at the profiles and you can see like all of the relatives and you can see what your genetic makeup is, which is really cool. But I think it's great timing because it's available, yes, but it was so popular that so many people had done it.
Mine
So
is definitely on 23andMe.
perfect.
I have no family members, but if you're out there distantly, be careful.
If
So,
you committed a crime, Heather
yeah.
might be the key to
And
solving.
I will totally submit my DNA again so you get caught. So just don't do it. So let's talk about finally his arrest because holy cow, was it so long overdue.
But in this, okay, so at this point, 2018, did they also connect him to the murders? They had already
Yes.
connected him. Okay, so he was connected to every crime.
Every crime where he left his DNA that they knew of. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
was arrested on April 24th, 2018 in Sacramento County, and he was 72 years old, and they originally charged him with 8 counts of first-degree murder.
Okay.
So they knew, they're suspected more, but right off the rip, 8 murders, you're connected. And let's talk about like the actual capture of him because it's actually really fascinating and proves that he definitely had no idea. So it had been nearly 4 decades since his last known crime in 86. So they had their DNA evidence and they surrounded his house and arrested him. He was dressed in a t-shirt, cargo shorts, and tube socks.
Nobody was wearing cargo shorts in 18.
He
Just
was
sounds like someone's old
72.
dad.
Yeah, he
Aw.
was someone's old dad. He offered zero resistance, and they actually waited until he stepped into his yard and arrested him in the yard. In a jarring contrast to the cruelty that he inflicted on all of his victims, a predator, he terrorized in 11 different counties for his crimes. He didn't even fight back, but he protested in a high-pitched voice, "I have a roast in the oven."
Oh, geez. Let it burn.
That's what you're worried about? Your roast in the oven?
So did they tell him you're under arrest for murdering 8 folks?
Well, they took him into a interrogation room in the county sheriff's department, and he slumped down in his little plastic chair, and alone he was just staring at the walls for nearly 2 hours, just stuck in there with his thoughts. And
What, they left him in there alone, you're
they
saying?
left him in there alone.
Before the interrogation started? Or did he try to like lawyer up? I mean, he was
I don't-
well-versed in
I
legal
don't know
studies.
that he lawyered up immediately, or if he did, they just kept him in there anyways. So, again, Thien Ho, who was the district attorney, says he reminded me of a sloppy grandpa or an alcoholic uncle whom you avoid at Thanksgiving dinner.
Who hugs a little bit too tight.
Ugh.
Not that I have any of those. I love all my uncles, sorry.
Yeah, that's, but some people do. Some
Yeah.
people do. He did not seem particularly menacing. He was the lead prosecutor. That was Thien Ho, and he states this in his book, The People vs. the Golden State Killer, which was actually just released last month.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
yes.
Interesting. Okay.
I have it on my list because now I need to read it because this guy seems very interesting. The monsters of our imagination can look and feel very differently in the bright light of reality, which I think is so true what we've been talking about, right?
But
When
I
you
think,
picture a
too,
monster.
I know, but think about after like 30 years or whatever, like he is not even, he's like a shell of probably what he was back then. He was 6 foot something,
But I think even when you
athletic
see
build.
his like military picture, he seems normal. He looks normal. I shouldn't say seem, I don't know him.
I feel like he had kind of like crazy eyes, but you know what I mean? He's like, but no, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And I
No?
think that's, I mean, it's the same, maybe not Rex Heuermann because he does look like a
Oh,
boogeyman, but a lot of them
yeah.
look normal. And that's why they go
Ted Bundy,
unnoticed for so long. Yeah, Ted Bundy, just like
prime example of
anybody
like,
that looks like Zac Efron.
I would have been like, sure, I'll get in your car.
Yeah, I'll go with you. Where are we going?
Are there puppies? If there's puppies, I'm really getting in the car.
If there aren't, I'm coming. No, just kidding. I
Or
like
cats.
puppies too.
So the funny thing is, they offered him a can of Dr. Pepper in the interrogation room because that was what he'd left behind at several crime scenes.
Oh,
But he didn't touch it
because he
and
probably
they assumed that it was because he was worried that they would get his DNA.
yeah. Oh, for sure.
But
Yeah.
obviously,
They
he was
already had it.
completely unaware that they already had it. So, like, you could have drank in that Dr. Pepper and enjoyed it because you weren't getting another one. Jerk. So they asked Ho why he believed that D'Angelo shut down in the hours after his arrest, because apparently he did just completely shut down. And he stated that he was being calculating and manipulative. When he was sitting inside that room for those 2 hours, I was watching the video of it. And I thought a couple times that that video kind of froze because he was just sitting there, not moving at all. And after he was confronted with the murders and rapes, he started muttering to himself, saying, I didn't want to do it. Jerry made me do it.
Who's Jerry?
He was trying to present this mental defense of a split personality where he was blaming Jerry for taking over and kind of forcing him to do these things. But he didn't realize that his mental defense didn't work because this wasn't even the first time he had tried that.
Mm.
In 1979, when he was arrested for shoplifting that dog repellent and the hammer,
Yep.
he was caught by store security, and then he started acting like he was crazy, mumbling to himself, saying crazy things. And when the police came, he actually admitted he was pretending to be crazy, hoping that security wouldn't call the police.
Huh.
So he'd already used this technique before to
And
no
admitted it.
avail.
Yeah.
So, you know. So obviously they have him arrested. He's in prison. Well, he's in jail. You're not in prison until you're convicted. So he's in jail. And the trial starts in 2020. So on June 29th, 2020, D'Angelo pled guilty to 13 counts of first-degree murder. The plea deal also required him to admit to multiple uncharged acts, including rapes, which were described in horrific detail by prosecutors.
So they didn't charge him with the rapes as part of the plea deal? Is that what you're saying?
They made him admit to it, but he was not charged with it because prior to 2017,
Oh,
California had a
statute of
10-year
limitations.
statute of limitations.
No.
This is what kind of kills me, for non-aggravated rape.
Oh,
And
those are
sometimes I'm like,
aggravated.
those are aggravated. Those are 1,000, but unfortunately, apparently under their definition, he could not be charged with all the rapes he previously committed. He was,
Terrible.
however, charged with 13 related kidnapping and abduction attempts
Oh,
because those apparently,
who did he kidnap except for the young girl, Elizabeth?
I'm not
Snelling.
sure. But he did admit to a grand total of 161 crimes involving 48 victims, including dozens of rapes. Now, obviously, I think we are well aware that there was many, many more, but he did have to admit to some.
I'll just say this. When you're taking a plea deal, but you're confessing or pleading guilty to 13 murders, I mean, he's going away. He's 73 at
Just a
this
minimal.
point, 76.
Give people some justice.
Yes. I mean, why not? You're never getting out,
Never.
right? Like, why do you even take a plea deal? Is it so that he wasn't executed? Does California even have the death penalty? I don't know.
So I don't know if they did in 2020. I know Gavin Newsom just removed the death penalty. And there are, like, it's really weird. I just listened to something this morning about it. I think there are 851 people on California's quote unquote death row who right now can't be sentenced to death. But I'm guessing that in 2020, there was the death penalty still on the table.
Okay.
Again, I'm speculating.
I found when I was researching Kristen's case that New York State I think we have 30,000 unsolved murders, is second in the country only to California. And California has so many more. I'll have to look it up again.
I remember you telling me that, and I was
Yeah.
like, So many people ask, why a plea deal? Like,
Yeah,
why?
why?
Why not make him
I'm asking, why a plea deal? Why?
why not make him go to trial? There were 1.3 million pages of discovery. Million.
Oh, well, that's why.
It is believed, obviously we'll never know for sure, but to fully prosecute him for all of those crimes would have actually taken up to 10 years.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. I'm kind of remembering this now. So it's almost like the resources, right? Taxpayer dollars are going to be spending they're going to be spending so much money for a decade trying to prosecute all of the crimes that he committed. So it's better for everybody probably to
Someone who's willing to at least admit it.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I mean, we'll talk about some of the victims, but hopefully that was sufficient, right? I mean, I'd want to hear him admit to something he did to me personally,
Yeah.
but I could also understand, like, technically the rapes, you couldn't even prosecute him for him if you wanted to. So
No,
at
because
least
of
if
the
he admitted
statute.
to it.
Yeah, I know. That's really hard, I think, for those victims because it probably ruined their lives. And there were
And
so many of the so
so
many
many. I
rape
think
victims.
so. First off, I'm a big proponent for the death penalty. I actually fully support the death penalty. But I also, through all of my years, understand why people don't support the death penalty. It's actually more expensive to execute someone than to keep them in prison for the rest of their life. And so obviously budgeting comes into play, and there's all the morality of it and whatnot. But I just think, like, if something happened to my family member,
Yeah.
I always say, like, you better hope they catch you before I do. But um, I can understand why some of these people were content with, like, no death penalty, just have him in jail for the rest of his natural life, let him suffer. I think that that's probably a pretty good punishment for him.
Well, and I
Although,
wonder, so I don't know if they would have to call like the little kid, for example, I think he was 12, who went in and found his
ugh,
dad, right? Like, would they have to have witnesses come and testify? Is that just more difficult?
and some of these victims had already passed away,
Oh,
like
I'm
some of the
sure.
rape
Oh,
victims,
yeah.
some like, I mean, 40 years without being solved, or not 40, I'm sorry, over 30 years without being solved.
Yeah.
Things happen to people, unfortunately. And some people still never revealed their identity. There are still rape victims that are still uncomfortable revealing their identity.
Which is so sad, but understandable because I think there's a stigma sometimes associated with rape victims. And I think maybe they didn't want people to know, right? They didn't want to feel
Yeah,
like people were looking at them a certain way or that people were, when you hear that somebody's been through an ordeal like that and it's just so tragic, then people obviously sympathize and feel so bad for you. So I think just to keep some kind of like normalcy in their life, I can understand why they wouldn't want to be involved in it. But
agreed. But the good part is, from August 18th to August 20th of 2020, he was confronted in court by rape survivors, their relatives, and the relatives of those he killed.
good.
Survivor after survivor told their stories of grief, fear, but also resilience. So one that really I really liked her. She's a bad bee, and I kind of like think she's amazing. Her name was Jane Carson Sandler,
Okay.
and she was raped in 1976 while her son was home.
Oh god, how old was he? Like a little?
Yeah, he was very
Oh,
little. I don't have the age written down here, I don't think, but
it's okay.
he was like 3 or 4, I want it. Like, he was
Oh,
little. And so she said, I was frozen in fear beyond description. My attention was not on the rape, but fully on, where did you put my son when you removed him from the bed? Where did you put him, and what are you going to do to him? She said that now, decades later, scars from her attack still remain. Seeing a ski mask or hearing someone yell, shut up, will forever cause me anxiety, she said. My comfort is at those times is remembering that you are finally going to prison and will remain there until you die, she said.
yep.
But this one, like, this is my favorite, and this is why I think she's a bad bee. She said, oh, by the way, D'Angelo, do you remember the roast you had cooking in the oven the day you were arrested? The only roast you'll experience is when you roast in hell, because that's where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Straight
girl.
to hell.
And I think, like, the guts that took to stand in a courtroom and just say that, like, but I also hope that that was so therapeutic for her to finally get to say that to him, because,
Yeah, think about how long she had probably
oh,
planned what she was gonna say if she ever had the opportunity to confront her attacker.
yes. So
Good for her.
He was finally sentenced to life in prison without parole. I believe it was 11 or 12 life sentences. So, I mean, I didn't even jot it down because there were so many. He's gone till the end of time. But what I did want to talk about is what his final charges were, and I want to read them. It's a little lengthy, but I'll blow through it as quickly as possible. But I think it's important for all of these people to at least have their names said out loud. So his final charges were 1 felony count of murder with a sentence enhancement for use of a personal firearm. For September 11th, 1976, he murdered Claude Snelling during attempted kidnapping of the victim's daughter in their home. 2 felony counts of murder with a sentencing enhancement for personal use of a firearm for February 2nd, 1978, when he is accused of murdering Kate Maggiore and Brian Maggiore as they walked their dog in their neighborhood. 9 felony counts of kidnapping to commit robbery with sentence enhancement for personal use of a firearm and personal use of a knife. Between September 4th, 1976 and October 21st, 1977, he's accused of kidnapping and carrying away 9 women to commit robbery in Contra Costa County. 4 felony counts of kidnapping to commit robbery with sentence enhancements for personal use of a firearm and personal use of a knife. Between October 7th, 1978 and June 11th, 1979, he is accused of kidnapping and carrying away 4 women to commit robbery in Santa Barbara County. 4 felony counts of murder with a sentencing enhancement for personal use of a firearm in special circumstances. Allegations for murder committed during the commission of rape and burglary. 4, December 30th, 1979, murdering Robert Offerman and raping and murdering Deborah Manning. July 27th, 1981, murdering Gregory Sanchez and raping and murdering Sherry Domingo. 2 felony counts of murder with special circumstances. Allegations for murder committed during the commission of rape and robbery for March 13th, 1980, murdering Lyman Smith and raping and murdering Charlene Smith. 4 felony counts of murder with special circumstances for murder committed during the commission of rape, robbery, and burglary for August 21st, 1980. Murdering Keith Harrington and raping and murdering Patrice Harrington. February 6th, 1981, raping and murdering Manuela Whithune. And May 5th, 1986, accused of raping and murdering Janelle Cruz.
Wow.
So many so many crimes.
Was he not accused or found guilty of any of the murders, or did he pled guilty to all of them, all that you talked about in the first episode?
I think it's all, let me count them all up, because I think there was all of them included in there.
Okay. I was just curious if for any reason, like.
Well, I mean, I personally think that he probably committed more. Just because, like we talked about last time, you commit all of these. And honestly, even from 81 to 86, you don't commit any. For 5 years, you do nothing. I have a hard time believing that.
Yeah.
But also from 86, we just stop. And so from 86 to 89, he was living in LA, but no one knows like where. No one knows what he was doing. How do we know that he didn't evolve as a killer and change his MO? What if he killed people and hid their bodies instead of leaving them in their home?
Or if he, I guess, yeah, or if he became aware of DNA, maybe he just was a lot more careful as far as like, I don't know, wearing gloves, wearing things that would protect his body from like skin cell shedding, or if he was raping women, maybe he didn't leave semen. Like, I'm not sure, but he definitely could have just been more careful after 86 when he'd heard about DNA and thought, oh crap.
Yeah.
You know, if this technology advances, or even if it's available now, I better be more careful.
And maybe in 81 through 86, he was committing murders and we just didn't know about them,
Yeah,
right?
possibly.
I mean, obviously, we'll never know because at this point, I don't think you have a chance of him. I mean, maybe a deathbed confession if there is more, but so D'Angelo had at this point sat in a wheelchair because he is an old man at this point. And it was 2020. We all remember 2020. So he had a white face mask covering his face as the victims and family members gave their statement. He finally rose out of the wheelchair, removed his face covering, and said, "I've listened to all of your statements, each one of them, and I'm truly sorry to everyone I have hurt. Thank you, Your Honor."
That's it.
Go F yourself.
So he never gave any kind of explanation as far as why except for the
In the prosecutor's book, if you have little ears, please, like, if you're listening to this in front of your kids, which I know most people probably aren't, but if you are, maybe this is where we stop for a minute. I wasn't going to touch on it, but since you're asking, Thean Ho thinks that he felt very powerless his whole life. And one of the things that the rape victims all commented on was that his penis was very small. And when they arrested him, it was one of the things that they actually observed is he had a micro penis. And the DA actually thinks that that's why he attacked women because he felt small and powerless his whole life.
well, he got a wife and another fiance. I mean, it
And 3
must not have been
daughters.
that bad. Yeah. Ooh,
So
how
I
interesting.
guess if you feel that powerless or not manly, I mean, I think there's plenty of people that are not out doing things like that, but that is one of the things that they actually attribute to why they think he committed a lot of crimes to feel powerful.
I've heard a lot of things about this case. I've never heard that before. So I learned
Yeah,
something new
see?
today.
So
Huh, he had a micro penis.
Yeah.
Well, I
serves
guess.
him right, honestly. Jerk.
Oh my gosh. But so interesting. So they think that he just wanted power over people.
Right. That he felt
Um,
like he never had power in his life and he always felt a little bit subpar,
well,
I
especially
guess.
being the victim of physical abuse too,
Correct.
right? When
and
you're
witnessing your
yeah,
child sister
I
get
mean you're
raped.
completely helpless at that point.
Exactly.
So
Which almost makes me wonder if that's why he stacked plates on people. He wanted them to feel as helpless as he felt,
yeah, I think so.
you know?
Yep.
It unfortunately tracks. So,
Micro penis part is over. Kids can
oh
listen
yeah,
again.
kids, you can turn back on. I didn't want children to hear that. So he is housed in a prison in Central Valley in California, and he is on a protective unit because they think that someone will try to kill him. So he is in a protective unit. And honestly, I'm okay with that because I think that that must mean that he is watching his back 24/7. Like, if you have to be put on a protective unit, you're not a child molester. I mean,
No.
you suck, but although some of his victims were very young, so I guess maybe I would consider him still, but you're not your typical child molester, but you're on a protective unit because what you did was so egregious
Yeah.
that there are going to be so many people who want to murder you.
So I just think that at this point, I mean, he's so old. The tragic thing about the case, well, aside from the statute of limitations on the rapes, is that he wasn't caught for decades.
Yep.
Because I just think that him being 73 when he's finally arrested, it
He got
just
to live his life, and that is
yeah,
so unfair.
he got to raise children, he got to have a wife, like he got to have, I don't know, a career or whatever. I just think it's so sad that he took other people's lives and he lived that long free. That's
Yeah.
just terrible. Especially, I mean, he was just one of the worst.
Terrible. Like, when I think of serial killers, like, this is one of the top.
Yeah.
Like, the body count and just the crimes in general.
Just how many crimes? Yeah, I think so too.
So if you are really interested, there are a couple books that you could follow up on and a series. The series is called I'll Be Gone in the Dark. It's an HBO docuseries, which is actually based off of Michelle McNamara's book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark. So if you want to watch it, you can watch that. If you want to read her book, unfortunately, she passed away before he was arrested and convicted. So she wrote this book and really brought a lot of light to this, but she did not get to see.
She was a huge advocate for finding him,
Yes.
right? She was one of the like the forces, like the pushing
Yep. And she's married or was married to Pat Oswald.
Patton Oswalt. Yeah.
So
He's a famous actor, and I don't know. I know he has what's it called? Not like voiceover, but when you're like a narrator, he narrates some series, but I think this case killed her.
oh my gosh, I think she was so obsessed with it and just couldn't. I think it ate her alive.
Yeah, I think so too. And how sad that they finally caught him and she
I
had already
know.
passed away.
I know, that's heartbreaking. And then I really want to read this one, like, that I've been referencing that it just released last month. It's The People versus the Golden State Killer, which was written by the Sacramento District Attorney, Thean Ho. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. He sounds so fascinating. I read a couple of his interviews, and I just think, like, what a great, like, insider perspective from someone who has read all of the discovery, or the majority of all the discovery,
Yeah.
and literally watched him in that interrogation room
Mm-hmm.
for those couple hours. And I think he just has such great insight. And what I do love is it was stated even in his book that he doesn't focus on Joseph DeAngelo. He focuses on like the victims and giving them, their light and their time to shine as people. And there's actually apparently a Facebook group that Patton Oswalt still runs, which has all the victims who want to be in it, and they talk to each other. And the thing that he has been interviewed and said is that, these people had every right to just,
Disappear.
completely, and they still are like positive, and they talk to each other and they lift each other up, and
Yeah.
they haven't let this awful, horrific crime like dictate their lives.
Well, and maybe just the support from each other is
Yeah.
probably helpful because then that you're not alone,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, and I guess unfortunately, this is the sad part, is that there are so many victims. So there are so many people who you can rely on for support in this. You unfortunately were not alone.
Yeah.
So while that's tragic, at least there's other people who understand how you felt.
Yeah.
So
So I really hope, and I just want to tie this back into our first couple of episodes, but this is exactly what we're hoping will happen in Kristen's case. So we hope that they find DNA, that they find, I know that they're, I believe, planning on testing evidence. I hope that they find a DNA sample, and I hope that they can upload it to 23andMe or Ancestry DNA, however that works, and that it will be what solves her case, because this is exactly what can happen, especially if the person is not a felon, if they're not a convicted felon, if their DNA isn't in CODIS, they're completely unknown. So you don't have a sample to compare it to unless they had taken samples from people that they were suspicious of. But to be able to build out those profiles is really, really amazing. So
yeah,
hopefully.
let's hope, because I think that it could really solve a lot of cases that
Yep.
are, unsolved. So yeah, so thankfully we are done with this jerk, because I honestly just want him to rot in hell.
Jerk.
And I never want him to have any moment of peace. Like, I hope every single moment he is looking over his shoulder. I hope he is nervous to sleep at night. I don't have enough like ill will to wish towards this monster,
Just the
because
worst. He's the worst.
he deserves the worst. And again, terribly sympathetic to the plight of the younger child. I cannot imagine that life, but you made your decisions and your choices, and you deserve even worse than you're getting. So.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Well, I liked this case. I'd heard about it, but I didn't know some of the details. So I think it was a good one. And I know that people really enjoyed it, enjoyed episode 3. So hopefully you guys like this episode. And as always, we're open to feedback, constructive criticism. Um, Let us know if you do watch on YouTube what you think. We have never done this before, so I don't know.
Excuse my bubbles getting to my stomach in
Yeah,
the
and
middle of.
the other thing was like I drank so much. Well, it's funny, you must take big gulps, but I kept drinking, but I think because you were reading and you weren't, and so I was thinking, oh boy, are they gonna think that I'm like an alcoholic because you're
Oh
not
my-
drinking at all? And I'm just like, I'd taken like 6 sips, and I'm like, she hasn't touched her glass yet. What's happening? But yeah, so thank you for joining in. We really appreciate it. And
I think we have a couple interesting cases coming up. I know we're not talking about our cases with each other, but I know I have a case that I'm kind of excited to talk about that is local to us. And I think you have one that's local to us.
I do as well. Yep. So my next case that I'm researching happened in Geneva, New York, which is where I grew up, where I was born. So I'm thinking that we'll have some local interest in that case just because it really does impact the local community. And then Heather's is also local.
Mine is also from Romulus, New York, which is not very far. So we've got a couple local cases coming up for all of our local listeners.
Yep. And check out our website, hotjusticepodcast.com. And you can email us at hotjusticepodcast@gmail.com.
And you can follow us on Instagram at Hot Justice Podcast.
All right. Until next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep seeking the truth. This episode was written, edited, and produced by us, and the music was created by Manny Aguero.